Jonah Comstock, Editor-in-Chief of pharmaphorum.com. I'm here at the HealthTech X event in London. I'm joined by Abby Staible from AstraZeneca and Dan Vahdat from Huma. They've just gotten done with the presentation at the stage. We're going to talk a little bit about their partnership and about pharma and digital working together.
Sounds great.
Welcome to the video, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for having us.
I didn't mention your titles because I didn't memorize them, but Abby, tell me exactly what you do at AstraZeneca.
I am actually the Director of Digital Health Transformation. At AstraZeneca, we have our digital organization organized into commercial digital as well as R&D digital. So I support our commercial digital health.
And I see you have an American accent. Are
yes.
you based in the U.S.?
I am based in the U.S. However, I'm part Huma employee, so I come to London fairly often. That's a joke.
Yeah, but you mentioned you were.
Well, Pascal pays for Abby's salary, but she helps us, which is great.
And Dan, you're the CEO at Huma. Where are you based and where are you from?
So I'm based in London most of the time, but also spend 1/3 of my time in the US, hence why I was in Boston, and I usually in Boston and New York twice a month. So I travel a lot.
So the partnership here is around remote patient monitoring, right? Or would you say it's bigger than that?
Bigger.
I think it's bigger. The idea is how can you include digital first into the journey of the patients, whether in the research, going to patients' activations to be able to identify patients that they might benefit from a specific treatments and therapy, and then when they are identified, is there a way to ensure that they get the right treatments with the right adherence, with the right support as they go through that journey, and ultimately help them to be the best version of themselves.
Do you want to add something?
No, I think it's important, like he said, it's an entire patient journey. So it's not just remote monitoring when the patient leaves an inpatient stay, for example, for heart failure, that we're providing a digital tool for a couple of weeks and then sending the patient on their way. It's leveraging digital platforms to identify patients who are undiagnosed or misdiagnosed in the patient population, shining that light on them, bringing that data into the clinical workflow so that clinicians can engage with those patients better, and then providing ongoing disease management and support. And all of that pathway, underlying that is a very rich data source, which then can be utilized to run real-world evidence, demonstrating the improved patient outcomes that we deliver with tools such as this, potentially even identifying patients for clinical trials. And then thanks to Huma and their multifaceted platform, potentially even running those trials on their decentralized clinical trial capability.
So Dan, you mentioned that you lobbied pretty hard to work with AstraZeneca. You asked a lot of times. There's a process there. I know you work with several other pharma companies as well as other kinds of stakeholders. So I'm curious, why was working with AstraZeneca so important to you guys? Why are they a valuable partner? And then of course, Abby, why out of all the digital health companies that AstraZeneca could work with, why Huma?
So for me, the most important was obviously we had engagement around COVID vaccine, we had engagements around some other projects. When we learned about their ambitions, especially during COVID, doing things not for profit, and then hearing their vision of not only trying to support patients that they benefit from AstraZeneca drugs, but actually supporting the community, the whole populations, so that everybody can access the best treatment possible through technology. That is like music, right, to our ears. And when we realized this is the kind of the DNA this company has, it was just, if they would have told us no 100 times, I would have come back again and again and again. Because at core, you have to be aligned with the reason why you do what you do. And hence why this is the most exciting partnership for us. And also I think it's a really important partnership for the whole industry. And that is even more important. How can we become a blueprint, an example of the right partnership for the patients first, not for AstraZeneca, not for Huma, not for anyone else. First patients, and if we take care of them, hopefully all of us will benefit. And that's kind of the exciting part.
I mean, Dan hit it. It's the alignment to the mission. And I know a lot of pharma companies, a lot of healthcare companies say that the patient is at its center. I do think during the pandemic, AstraZeneca took a very strong stance in saying, hey, we are going to provide access to care to all patients. That was a very, very compelling mission. So truly core to AstraZeneca's mission is helping patients be treated with the right medicine at the right time and finding the right patients for those medicines. And Huma is completely aligned to that. They've developed, it's in their name, Huma, humans. The human is at the center and at the core, which is really unique in this space, because I think a lot of healthcare technology companies see, and even big tech, see technology as something very simple to deploy in the healthcare setting and potentially even sometimes replace that patient-provider human relationship, where I think Huma has designed their technology platform as an accelerator of that human connection. So it's very complementary, it's not competitive to that. And that's central to where AstraZeneca wants to be. We want to be involved in bridging that gap between patient and provider to identify patients who are misdiagnosed or undiagnosed and leverage digital tools to enhance that.
So I'm going to actually stick with you for a minute, Abby, because
Oh.
I wanted to just sort of follow up and ask about the larger company at AZ. You know, you hear that pharma companies are risk averse, they can be slow moving, and it can be hard to push through things that don't have a strong, clear value proposition related to the bottom line. So can you talk a little bit about how you sort of negotiate with the larger company and communicate that these sort of projects are important? Or is the DNA really at the point now where we don't have to fight that battle?
I mean, I think I'm going to take us up even further. Healthcare as a whole doesn't know and understand how to assign value to these kinds of tools and to this digital transformation. And yet in COVID, I think it demonstrated that consumers, patients, and actually providers as well are looking for a better experience. We're dealing with a massive clinician burnout, and consumers are able to manage their finances, pay their mortgages on their phones. Why do they have to sit in a waiting room for 4 hours to have an in-person interaction with a human that they could have taken care of a lot of that work ahead of time leveraging digital tools? So it's an evolution. This is a transformation. I don't think any pharma company, I don't think any healthcare company has truly come to the point that it is in our DNA. I think for AstraZeneca, core to our mission as a science-backed company is the proof of the value of this is in the outcomes. Are we actually moving the needle at finding patients who are undiagnosed and bringing them into their care centers to be properly diagnosed? Are we actually moving the needle on putting patients on guideline-based medical therapy? Are we leveraging these tools, reducing hospital readmissions for heart failure, for COPD? Are we reducing asthma exacerbations? So true clinical outcomes. And I think that is when I speak to the leadership at AstraZeneca and when Dan speaks to the leadership of AstraZeneca, this is about actually improving the patient journey, which leads to improved healthcare outcomes. And every player in the healthcare ecosystem wants to see that delivered. So if we speak that language and we're able to demonstrate that with the evidence we generate from deployments, that I think is going to lead to the evolution of this truly being in the DNA of how we practice care.
And Dan, are we seeing that evidence in the deployments you guys have?
I think one of the key things about our partnership, and this is something that I actually champion and advocate a lot, come up with a very big vision, but start small and take a small step. And every step, okay, build a platform, sign the partners, plan the go live, collect the data, and then if you deliver that kind of the first stream of the work, then suddenly you can scale it to 10, 20, 50. And that's exactly what we are doing with AstraZeneca and Abby's team, which is the right model. And as a part of it, we are collecting evidence. One of the core foundation of Huma is any deployments we do, we have a medical team that they come up with a kind of evidence generations plan for the deployment, because also it's really important to be frank, digital is not for every condition. It's not always help. There are certain conditions that they actually benefit a lot more, and there are certain conditions and use cases that maybe digital is not as important. And being very transparent and open to this topic is really key, because then you focus on the stuff that you really add value, at least today. Maybe things change if Apple start doing this glucose monitoring technology that now everyone's talking about it, then maybe it opens other doors for some other condition. But for today, there are certain conditions like asthma is a good example. You can actually make a big difference.
Any final thoughts from either of you, things we haven't talked about that you think are important or want to emphasize or share with the world?
One thing that I think people like yourself can really, really help is the whole education. Making sure that what we do, the kind of things we do, it is in the top of the leaders of the pharma and leaders of the healthcare. Often digital health, kind of sometimes it feels 5 years ago where electric car was. 5 years ago, electric car wasn't in the top CEO agenda. It was kind of some sort of innovation somewhere. But Tesla and some big partnership that happened through that suddenly made it #1 agenda. And you cannot think of any executive in the car industry that doesn't wake up every morning, thinks about their electric car strategy. Same thing has to happen in healthcare and digital health. And I think AstraZeneca, one of the things that they have done, they're pioneering this. This is not a relationship just like some innovations project somewhere. It is actually the toppest level are involved, they're supervising it, and we're learning from them and their input. And we need to have more of these things. Because ultimately, the sooner we get the adoptions, the more patients they're going to benefit.
I think for me is the recognition that this isn't going to be solved by one player, especially in healthcare. Healthcare, the reason we see so much friction in the system is because it's so incredibly siloed. And so to break down those silos, it takes the partnership ecosystem, this check your ego at the door. We're aligned to solving one problem. No one has solved this yet. So if you will, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. And this is not glamorous work. This is truly hard, battling battles every day to make this impact real. And I think that's one of the things that I really have always enjoyed about Huma, is that Huma's taken that approach, this partnership approach, ecosystem approach, collaboration, trust, transparency, as part of their DNA. They've shared that with AstraZeneca. It's the greatest joy in my work is working with them, because I know we have each other's backs. We're learning as we go. We fail fast and we get back up and we go at it again. And I cannot wait to be here a couple years from now saying, look at what we've achieved.
Awesome. Thank you both so much.
Perfect.
Thank
you
you
so much. Thank you.